Hello, my name is Matthew Randall, and in this tutorial I'm going to demonstrate how to implement some Python code from a research paper making use of AI. Now, this research paper is a super resolution research paper called proSR. Super resolution, if you're not aware of it, it basically uses artificial intelligence, in this case a neural network, and commonly neural networks or an adversarial neural network maybe, to fill in all the pixels when you actually upscale your image. So when you upscale your image, you can imagine there's pixels or information that's missing, and we use AI to fill in that missing information. And basically, the AI algorithm would have been trained on lots and lots of images, example images, low-res images, and up-res images, to train itself to kind of best predict what that missing information should be. Okay, but really this isn't just about implementing this paper. The idea is to the idea of this tutorial is to demonstrate more generally, how you might, download code and set up an environment, set up a Python environment to run the code from a research paper. Okay. Now, one of the key things to understand about AI, and in particular neural networks, is that we are dealing with trained neural networks. So basically, what we can do is we can either, and we can do both options with this code. We can either download a very large data set. So I'm just going to scroll down here. Yeah, okay. We can either download a very large data set, if I can find the right information here, a very large data set of information, and then train the model on that data set. This is often something that I just want to avoid, especially if I'm just doing something that's quite general purpose. Okay, so really what I want to do is actually download the pre-trained models. Okay, so it's a very important concept to understand when you're working with, when you're looking at code with neural networks. You want to download the code, but you also want to download the pre-trained model, the model that's been already trained. Okay, otherwise you're going to have to train it yourself. Now in this case, this has been really quite nicely presented, this research paper. We've got the code here. It's going through how to install it here. Okay, this is how to install it on an Ubuntu system. I'm going to be installing it on a Windows system, if you've already picked that up from the environment here, on a Windows system. So there's some slight variations just to be aware of, and we'll take you through those as we go through. Okay, it's providing the data sets, but it's also providing the pre-trained models. So I can just download these models and work directly with the model. Okay, so it's just something to be aware of, this concept of a model when you're working with algorithms, or wanting to implement algorithms that use neural networks. Okay, so great. Okay, so if we look at the implementation guide here, or the installation guide here, what we need to do is we need to create ourselves a Python environment, okay, a version 3 Python environment, okay, and then what we need to do is install these dependencies, and you can see it's taking us through that, creating the environment and installing these dependencies. And actually, what this paper is doing is it's showing how to do it using something called Conda. So there's a really useful tool called Anaconda. I'm just going to flip the tab here to show you. And all you need to do is basically just go to download. You just want the individual edition, which it goes straight to. Scroll down here to download, and just download the 64-bit graphic installer. Okay, and basically what this tool does is it allows you to very easily set up Python environments for you to run your code in. So you can imagine if you were implementing lots of different papers, they all slightly use a different version of Python, or a different version, or different libraries, or different versions of those libraries. So you're not going to have a single sort of Python setup that's going to run all these different research papers. So you're going to have lots and lots of different Python setups. So the way to manage all of those Python setups is to use something like Anaconda to manage those environments for you. Okay, so it's a really useful piece of software. So before you go any further, you will need to download this piece of software. Okay, once you've downloaded this piece of software, I think it comes with a GUI interface, but what we're going to do is, I'm just going to go Anaconda, if I can type it in properly. Okay, we're just going to use the Anaconda prompt rather than the Anaconda navigator. Okay, so we're just going to use the Anaconda prompt. Okay, so this will bring up a command prompt. This will look like a normal command prompt, like a DOS command prompt, but it's not a DOS command prompt. You can run DOS commands in it, okay, and this will be run in the folder that's located here, okay, any DOS command prompts, but you can also run Conda specific commands. So I can go Conda like this, and these Conda commands will be rerouted to Anaconda to do particular things in terms of setting up environments, bringing in packages for those environments, or removing environments, etc., etc. Okay, and so while this refers to the directory that we're working in, this refers to the environment, the Conda environment that we're working with. And at the moment, we're just working with the base default Anaconda environment. I've just started it up. That's what we've got. Okay, so let's go back to what we need to do. We need to set up a Conda environment. We need to set up some dependencies. We need to set up an environment variable in Windows. Again, this command here is designed to be ran in Ubuntu, so we need to take a slightly different approach inside of Windows. Okay, and then once we've done that, we want to download the models and the code and run it. Okay, so let's get started. So go back to my Conda prompt. So what I want to do is we could run this command, okay, and what this will do is this will set up an environment called proSR. You can call it the environment whatever you want. Obviously, they're saying call it proSR after the name of the paper, or what the approach that they've called it. They've called it Pro Super Resolution. Okay. So you can call it whatever you want. The key thing is this will create a Conda environment inside your user folder inside of Windows. I find that quite cumbersome because it's kind of difficult to get to. It's quite buried quite deep inside the user folders, the way this is set up by default, and I don't like that. So I like to kind of tell it what folder to go to. So I do that by saying, so rather than going N for name, I'm going to go hyphen prefix, okay, and I'm not going to give it a name, but I'm going to specify a folder for it to go to. So I'm working on the V drive here, and so I'm just going to create a folder in this V drive, or environment in this V drive called proSR. Okay, so I'm just going to go V proSR like that. Okay. And then what we want to do is we want to specify the version of Python, okay? I think actually if you don't specify anything, it'll just go for the latest version of Python, but just for good measure, I'm going to say, hey, I want Python 3, okay? And it'll give me the most up-to-date version of Python 3, okay? So I'm going to go return now, and it'll just create that environment for me. So it'll just go, yes, I do want to proceed. I'll just ask them I want to proceed. And now what it's going to do is it's just going to download, basically, that latest version of Python, and use that to set up an environment. So I'll pause while it's doing that, so you don't have to see it do that. Okay, so that's already created. Just to show you that then, if I go into my V drive here and scroll down, there you are. It's created a folder called proSR, and you'll see that there is a Python environment in there. Just to prove it, there's our Python exe, and it's a Python 3.9 environment that's been created. Great, okay. So at the moment, any commands we run are still going to be ran on this base environment, this default environment. So what we need to do is we need to activate it, and this is what it's telling you to do here, saying, hey, you need to activate this. So we're just going to go and copy and paste this. We don't want the $. That's there for if you're using Ubuntu. We're using Windows, so we don't need the $. There. I'm just going to go Control V, and that will now activate that environment. So you see the base has changed to this, and so that means that any commands we're running now, such as installing packages, etc., are going to be done on that environment, not the default environment. Okay, and if I go Conda list, you'll see it's going to list all the packages that are already in this environment. You can see there's a 3.9. You've got Pip, just your kind of standard packages that come with Python. So this is like your starting point here before we add anything else. Great. Okay. What else was I going to mention? Also, you can, there is a Conda cheat sheet available. So if you Google Conda cheat sheet, you can download this, and this will give you all the sort of other conda commands, or the main sort of other conda commands that you can use to do various things. Obviously, in this tutorial, I'll just be demonstrating the ones that you need to do this setup. Okay, so the next step we want to do, now we set this up, is put in these dependencies. So I'm just going to go and copy and paste this line here, okay, and just install these different dependencies. And this will install these dependencies again into this proSR environment that we've created. So I'm just going to yes, I'm going to continue, and I'm going to pause while it does that. Okay, and so what I should say is the PyTorch package is the that's the neural network library that we're using to run the neural network, and this is GPU accelerated, so just be aware of that. It's using CUDA cores, and you should download the latest version of CUDA from the NVIDIA website in order to support this as well. Okay, that's something that you'll need to do. I think there is a CPU version of this Torch Vision that might be a little bit trickier to implement, and I haven't tested that, so I can't guarantee that will work. At the moment, I'm working with this CUDA 91 version. Okay. And what Conda does is, you'll notice we're using Conda to install these packages. So here we're using Conda install, Conda install, Conda install, and here we're using a pip install. So it's just a different approach to installing it. Conda install is really good because what it does is Conda, basically, there's loads of compatibility issues between different libraries of code or different packages of code that we're using. And Conda just manages that. So you can see here it's saying, hey, I need to downgrade these packages in order for it to be compatible with the package that you want to load. And it's managing all of that for us and putting those packages and to install all those packages. So that's the real, one of the real power points of using, or benefits of using Conda. Okay, whereas pip install is just kind of your standard installer. That's just doing it outside of Conda. So if you do a pip install, Conda's not going to manage that process. You do often need to go to a pip install if Conda's not hosting that package. So where you've got packages that aren't hosted by Conda, and Conda can't install them for you, you then can just use a standard kind of pip install to install things. Okay, let's continue on. So now what we're doing is we're doing scikit, the scikit image library. Let's just paste that in there. Okay, and again, it's going to go through my environment, check it, yes, everything's okay, and we're going to install that. And so the scikit image library is just basically an image processing, image manipulation library. Yeah. That's being used. Okay, I'm going to pause while that's installing. Okay, then we'll just go for the next package, which is this one. So another Conda install. Again, it's just going to go through and just check that everything can install okay. Yeah, we'll just say yes, we're happy with that. Okay, so it's managing all that for us. Again, I'm going to pause. So we're going to install the next dependencies, which are going to be done using a pip install. Now, this code is actually designed to be run in Ubuntu. So again, yeah, I'm not going to run it like this. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to run the pip install directly inside of Conda. So I'm just going to go Control C. Just run that inside of Conda. I did try to install both packages at the same time. So there's two packages, EasyDict and Pillow, that it's installing. I found that when I tried to do both at the same time, I only got one of the packages installed. So I'm just going to do them separately this time. Hopefully these won't take too long to install. Again, I shall just pause while it's doing that. Oh, has it done it? Yep, it's done it. There we are. And I'm just going to run that again, command again. But this time I'm just going to install Pillow. Okay, so this one here. Okay. Oh, it says it's already there. And I can obviously just go Conda list just to check what libraries I've got now. And you'll see that from what we had previously, I've got a significant number more libraries. And you can see EasyDict, you'll see the Pillow, you'll see, what are we using? PyTorch, NumPy, which is a very typical package, the scikit image. So all the stuff that we wanted has all come in and is all available to us. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we've got to set up this environment variable. Actually, this environment variable is looking at a folder inside of this code in this GitHub library. So actually what we want to do, next step, is to download this code. So this will be the Python code. So whereas before we've been downloading Python libraries. This is the actual code that was put together by this researcher to do the upresing. Okay, so we're just going to go download. I think I've got a link to my downloads folder. Here we are, and I'm just going to go and extract that. Yeah. So I'll just extract that to there. Okay, and so if we look in here, you can see that we've got, this is the code here. So what we want to do is just copy this folder here. I don't feel the need to have like two folders called proSR master in there. So I'm going to copy that. And we could put this anywhere, but for me, I find the tidiest thing to do is just put it inside of the environment that we're going to use it with. Okay, you don't have to do it that way, but that's what I do. Okay, proSR, there we are. I'm just going to go paste that into here. Okay, so that code's pasted into there, and you'll see me do this in a moment. So I'm just going to move this up. But obviously what we'll need to do is we'll need to move into the folder that contains that code. So at the moment we're at the root of our C drive, and so it's going to be looking to run Python that's in the root of our C drive. It's not there. We'll need to move in that folder to run that code. So we've got the right environment, but we're not in the right folder to run that code. You'll see me do that in a moment, but I'm just highlighting that. So if you put the code in a different place, then obviously you'll do a slightly different thing when we go to change this folder here. Okay. For the moment, what we need to do is do this environment variable, and basically, if I scroll down here, where are we? This environment variable here. So this is a command that we can run in Ubuntu. We're not using Ubuntu, so we've got to do this manually inside of Windows. And so what it's asking us to do is set up a Python path environment variable. So basically a Python path environment variable is just basically when we run some Python code, it's saying have a look in these folders for Python libraries. Okay, or bits of Python that we might want to use. So if I haven't explicitly told you it and you can't find it, have a look in these folders for that code. Is basically what we're saying. Okay, okay, and what it's saying here is say project root lib. So if we just go back here, the project root will be. Let's make sure I go to the right folder. So the project root will be this proSR master. And it's saying go to the lib folder in there. So it's this folder here that it wants to add as an environment variable. So let's go and do that process, okay? And the environment variable is called Python path, okay? So I'm going to go environment variable. Okay. So, sorry, I'll just do that again so you can see it a bit more clearly. So it's edit system environment variables. So you can see if you type in environment here, it should come up. Okay. Okay. So now what we want to do is we just want to go into environment variables. Now I tend to set these up as system variables. You might feel more comfortable doing it as a user variable. Should work either way. Should be fine. Okay. So I'm going to do it as a system variable. So you might already have a Python path in there. So you can see I've actually already got a Python path in there, which I am going to delete that one. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go new. In fact, it's going to be the same Python one because I set it up when I was testing this. That's what I set up. So, but I'm going to show you how to do a new one anyway. So we click on new. So if you've got a Python one there, you might want to go edit, and you can just add it. You can just go semicolon and add the extra path in there. That's fine. If you haven't got a Python path in there, we just go new, and we're just going to create a new variable called Python path. And then what we're going to do is copy and paste this URL. So if you click on the address bar here, it gives you the URL of where that is. So we just copy and paste that into our environment variable and click OK. And then we just go OK. Brilliant, fine. Now, there's something I wanted to demonstrate, which I'm probably not going to be able to demonstrate properly to you now. Let's just try this. So if I go back into Conda, I'm just going to run a DOS command now. I'm just going to go echo $Python path $. Okay? And you can see that Python path is already set up. Now, what you'll find is when you run it, you'll get it'll just be empty. There won't be anything there. And what's going on there? But if you go command line, command prompt, and you run the same command here, in here, you should find that you will get the correct information. And basically what's happening here is Conda, so obviously I've already got this environment set up when I launched Conda, so this isn't causing me a problem. But what you'll see is that Conda is not getting the memo that we have set up a new environment variable. So what you'll need to do is you will need to close, so obviously everything looks right on mine, but hopefully when you're doing it on yours, you'll see that it's not coming up. So what you need to do is close down Conda and then relaunch it again. Okay, like that. All right, I'm just going to close that down. Okay, and then hopefully what you'll find is if you go echo $python path again, it should now work. Okay, obviously we're now back to our default environment, so we need to reactivate that. So we need to go conda activate the environment that we were working on, and that will be, so if I just go up one folder to up another folder, so we're at V drive proSR, that's the one. So it's this one here. We just go activate, we'll just go activate that, and you'll see, yep, we've moved to that folder. We're running the Python environment that's in that folder now. Okay, we can see that by going conda list. We'll see that, yeah, that's everything that we set up before. Brilliant. Okay, so we've now got that environment set up. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to go into our the code that we downloaded, so this proSR master code that we downloaded, and we just want to add some extra folders in here. Okay, so we want a folder for our input images. These are the low res images that we're going to upscale. We want an output folder for the upscaled images, but we also want a folder to put these pre-trained models into. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to go folder, I'm going to go inputs, new folder, outputs, and new folder, models. Okay, great. Okay, so we've got our inputs, our outputs, our models. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to download. I want to put an image in there to act as our input. So I want to, as an input, I'm just going to use this picture of a baboon that's quite often used for these types of purposes. So I'm just going to go Control C and put that into our inputs folder. Control V. So you could put a number of images in there, but as I say, just putting an image in there to work with. That's great. Then what we want to do is we want to put a model into the models folder. Okay, so let's go back here. So as we said, we've got our data sets that we can download. Obviously, I don't want to train my own model. What I want to do is use a pre-trained model. Okay, so these are models that you can download. The main ones you're probably going to be looking at is the proSR one and probably the proSR GAN one. So I'm assuming this is using a neural network, and then this is using an adversarial neural network. So it's a slightly kind of more involved process for this model. Okay, I'm going to download this model. So just click on it, and it will take you to where the download is. In this case, it's a Dropbox one. So I'm just going to go download and direct download. Okay, there we are. It's 200 megs, so it'll take a little while to download. I'm going to just click back, so we're back on this main page here that we're following, and I'm just going to pause while it downloads. Okay, so we've downloaded the model now, so if I just go into my downloads folder, where are you, downloads folder? Here we go. So yeah, this is so it's this proSR model file that came down here. So I'm just going to go extract. Okay, and here's proSR. So I'm just going to copy those models into our models folder. Copy into. In fact, actually, I might just copy the whole. No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm just going to go. I'm just deciding how I want to manage that. I'm just going to copy these models, copy those into the models folder. So So here's the models folder, and just go paste. There we go. Great. So those are the models all set up. Now what we need to do is we need to move to the correct directory to run our Python code. So if I go to, just to kind of orientate you again then, so this is our Python environment. And inside the Python environment, we've got this proSR master folder here. This is where the code is that we downloaded, okay? And obviously we've got, inside here, we've got the inputs, we've got the input files, the models that we just downloaded, and the outputs, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to run this test py Python code, okay? Now, to run this, we need to be, we need the Conda environment to be in this folder. So let's copy this folder. So again, just click on it, the top bar, and it allows you just to copy the address and go back to Conda, okay? And so at the moment I'm on the C drive. I need to go to the V drive, so I'm just go V. So I'm now on the V drive, and then I just got to go CD and just paste in that folder, okay? And now you'll see that we're in the proSR environment, and we're actually located inside the proSR master folder. So I can now just go and run this test py Python. So in order to run it, we're going to go Python. And we're going to say, hey, we want to run the test.py code, okay? Now, looking through the documentation, and with some trial and error as well, this is kind of the tricky bit, is trying to understand how this has been set up. If you go down to the testing section here, you've got an example here where it's going, test py, and then you go -y. This is the low resolution input, so this is where the folder is for the low resolution files, and then you're going to say this is the folder for the this is the folder for high resolution files for comparison. So in fact, this is nicely set up because this will do things like it will do like signal noise ratio analysis and other things for you if you tell it where the high resolution images are, and it'll tell you how it's performing. This is optional, and I'm not going to do that, okay? So that's not what we're going to do. So we're going to put in the low resolution images, but what we do want to do is we want to put in a checkpoint, because the checkpoint is the model, okay? So checkpoint is another word for model if you see this in any documentation, okay? And then we want to just put some information about this scale, and I'm also going to tell it where I want to output the stuff to as well. I think in other examples you can see it's actually specified an output file as well. Okay, so we're going to put all this together to create the command that we want to do to run to make this code work. Okay, so let's just try and sort of move things around. I'm going to put that up there so you can kind of see it and hopefully kind of relate that to what I'm typing in here. So we've got test py. I want to go I. So I'm going to go, I think it's -I, and so this will be the input place. And then what we want to do is specify the folder that we want to input to. So that's going to be inputs. Sorry. Yeah, you do have to type things in correctly, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, inputs. So if I go back to my folder structure here, it's going to go to this inputs folder. That's fine. Okay, so you can provide it with a folder, and it will just work through a set of images for you. Then what we want to do is we want to specify the checkpoint. So we're going to go checkpoint, and the checkpoint is it's inside of models. But we actually need to specify the particular file that we're going to use. So I'm going to use the 2 times. But you can see that these are trained to kind of scale up by 2 times, by 4 times, by 8 times. So you can get an idea of which model you should be using when. Okay. So I'm going to go proSR _x2.path. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is specify the scale. So the scale is going to be 4. Okay, so that's how much we're going to scale it up. And then I'm going to go O. Let's go type in O to specify an output file. And the output file is going to be, if I just go in here, it will be outputs. hopefully that's going to work. Okay, it's saving the images. Great. And so if we go into so here we've got the input file. This is the original baboon image that we had here. And if I go to the outputs one, that's the upscaled baboon image as well. Okay, so yeah, so that's how you implement a piece of code from a research paper that's based around Python and using AI in Python. So hopefully this has kind of helped you. This idea that we've got to set up the environment, we've got to download the dependencies, download the code. There might be some environment variables that we've got to do. How we do this in Conda, obviously move to the right folder and the right environment, and then run the command. So hopefully you can kind of understand those steps, and then hopefully you can replicate those steps with other papers. Other papers, I would recommend having a look at on YouTube. You have 2-minute papers, and so quite often I see papers I quite like there, and often with those you can actually, there'll be a link from his videos to the GitHub repository, and you can actually start downloading the code and working with it in the same manner that I have done here. So hopefully that's kind of inspired you, not just in terms of using this piece of code, but in terms of how you might implement other code from other research papers as well. Okay, enjoy that.